Well, good morning, folks. And listen, I can tell you it is going to be a very good morning. I know that for sure because I am on with Tom Hughes, and I am very excited because we've got some great things going on. Matt's in the background. You can't see him, but say hi to Matt, all of you people that are watching. That's Tom's son. He's kind of controlling the helm over there with all the technology. But listen, before we get started, I do think there's a few things we need to do. Number one, I want to thank you guys in advance that are on Rumble. You guys are awesome. Make sure you let folks know that we are online, right? You want to let folks know, you want to share. I do want to thank you in advance for your Rumble rants. You guys are awesome. I also want to thank you folks on Facebook for sharing that we are here. I want to thank you in advance for your stars. You guys are awesome there. And then, of course, for all of you guys that are on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, let folks know that we're here. By the way, some of you may not know this, but the more of you that like this on YouTube, the more it gets pushed out in the algorithm. So you guys liking it makes a big deal. It's a big difference. So thank you guys for doing that. I also want to briefly just acknowledge those of you who have done super stickers and super chats. I think we only have one for the show today. Let me jump in and see. I'm almost certain of that. Let's go over here. You know, this is really funny. They have been giving us a bit of a hard time as of late on looking at the super stickers and super chats. It's been acting a little funny as of late. So the only one that I can see right now is Karen Lisa McAllister. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate that. I do not know what in the world is going on that end of things with YouTube. YouTube's been going through a little bit of an issue here, which has been kind of unique. But as usual, of course, we're going to work through all of that. I think it's important to do so. So anyway, Tommy.
Yes.
What's the latest and greatest, bro?
What's
happening with you?
James, there is so much going on. So, I mean, I don't really know where to begin, but I'm just going to throw this out there. All right.
Can I just say this before you get into anything?
Yes.
How happy I am that you're here, bro. I know that you are and have been very, very busy, but my goodness, bro, it's a blessing to have you here with me. I had to get that on the record and say that I miss you, and I think a lot of people share the same sentiment.
It's great. Hey, I send you pictures of people from wherever I travel because they always come up to me and they say, "Hey, I love watching James. I love watching you and James. I love watching James and James," or whatever it is. So I always get those.
There's three of me actually.
And I saw the one yesterday, and yeah. So it was Seattle, Colorado, just out in Rockwall, Texas, just the other day. Those are all just in the last few weeks. Florida happened. I've sent you pictures when we were in Florida. It's all over the place. But it's great being here with you today. This is fantastic.
Bro, I am really glad. And I think that the enemy has been working hard, very much working hard to mess with me, which I think means we are going to have a really, 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 really good show.
I do too. I can't wait for this.
So let's get the show on the road, shall we?
Yeah, because I only gave you X amount of time too. So
that's nice to know, bro. That's nice to know.
But you knew it ahead of time.
I did know it ahead of time, but we'll see if we can hustle you into spending a little bit more time. No, we shouldn't be talking about that right now. Let's make it work.
Roll.
All right, brother.
So we have a viewer who watches both of our programs. His name's Philip, and you've actually done something with him before. But he sent me this. We shouldn't be calling this the Great Reset. We should call it the Communist Reset, or the Fascist Reset, or the Private Property Reset, or the Tragic Reset, or the Horrific Reset, the Slavery Reset, or whatever. And he's right. These WEF and all these other radical Marxist leftists have dubbed it the Great Reset. That's what we call it's a great destruction. And I was thinking of it because this very first article, Dr. Vernon Coleman says social credit is coming and it's all part of the Great Reset. No, it's part of the tragic reset, the horrific reset, the slavery reset, the fascist reset, the Marxist reset. That's what is really going on here. And I think we should start branding it for what it really is. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, bro. Listen, this is what I like to call the demonic reset, bro. I think that's probably the better way of putting it, the satanic reset. Because the reality of it is what they call good is evil and evil good. This is something that we have been talking about and revisiting as of late because the world we've been living in right now has been operating under that auspice. And the Bible told us that in the last days, we would see things like this happening. This is not something that should surprise us. It's absolutely horrible. Sorry, I was getting a video queued up that I was going to show you. It's getting absolutely horrible. The days are getting darker. And this is not something that should surprise us. I mean, I don't know why people are looking at this and feeling like, oh, wow, this is a shocker. It shouldn't be a shocker because we have people right now, even people who call themselves on the right, conservatives, who are saying that the things that we are looking at right now should be nothing that we should be ashamed of, should be nothing that we should be speaking against, should be nothing that we should be worried about. It's all good. It's for the better. And the things that they say that they are against, they call themselves anti-fascists, when in reality they are deeply fascist, right?
Oh, and they're the worst.
And if you ask anybody who calls himself an anti-fascist, ask them to explain what fascism is. They wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah, there's such an evil thing that's going on. It is the spirit of Antichrist that's alive and well right now. Several times on your program, with me being on, you've played the Prince Charles video. Somebody asked me just the other day when I was in Texas about that. They said, that video that James shows with Prince Charles? I said, yeah. They said, who do you think that is that he was talking about? And he said, obviously, everybody at the meeting knew exactly who Prince Charles was talking about. So we see this. Listen, it's not a shock to us because we know what the Bible says. We know they have their agenda. It's 2030. They're speeding it up. They're going to do everything they possibly can to get there. So now what we're watching is a collapse of the economy, all the climate stuff that's going on. We're told there's going to be food shortage. You have Monkey on your program often, and he talks about what's going on with Shanghai. Those ships aren't coming into the harbor in Los Angeles anymore, which will affect the entire nation within 2 months. It's just going to be absolutely horrific here come the end of August because and we already know what's going on with the food.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this. This is something that has been a discussion on and on. And the way that they're able to get away with this, and I think this is an important distinction to draw, right? The way that they're able to get away with this is they do everything that they can to muddy the lines, right? They want to blur the lines. That's exactly what they're doing. So whatever it is that you would look at in the past and say, hey, that's wrong because we have clear-cut standards, they think that if they can remove that, then they can get away with pretty much doing anything. And by the way, they're right. Because if people's sense of morality is completely removed from them, then the reality of it is they will continue on doing the things that continue to affect us. Now, I can give you an example of this. And this is a great quote, by the way, from Samuel Adams. And he says, while the people are virtuous, they cannot be subdued. But when once they lose their virtue, they will be ready to surrender their liberties to the first external or internal invader.
Oh,
and that's the whole idea. You allow them to become an immoral people, and then and you allow them to celebrate immorality. You allow them to celebrate evil. Then in reality, what begins to happen is they start to embrace it. One such thing that I was talking about, and I did a video on this yesterday, and I think it's worthwhile us rehearsing over again, and that is this story that is on Fox News. I don't know if you saw this,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they are celebrating Gay and Lesbian Pride Month, LGBTQ plus ABC 123, whatever you want to call it, Pride Month. And in doing so, look at what they are saying. They are glorifying, literally glorifying parents who helped their child be a transgender, go from a little girl to a boy. And look at how they justify this. Listen to how evil this is, bro. This is terrible.
There's another family who's proud of who they are.
Before Ryland could even speak, he managed to tell his parents that he is a boy.
Okay, first of all, how in the world can a reporter at Fox News have a straight face on them and say, before the child was able to speak, she was able to tell them that she was a boy?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be demonically inspired to even say that. You are basically taking pride in parents implementing within their child an element of gender dysphoria, and you're using the propagandist arm that exists in Fox News, which, by the way, I believe they are the propagandist arm for the LGBTQ community now. They call themselves conservative. They call themselves legit. I think they're fake. I don't believe them. Tucker Carlson might be the only guy that I trust on Fox News, but the reality of it is these people are evil. Look what else they continue to say.
Just see it wasn't him trying to be a brat. It was like painful. It was truly painful for him to have to wear feminine clothing and for us constantly telling him that you're a girl.
How in the world, can I ask you this question, Tommy? How in the world can they know that it's painful for a toddler or an infant to wear girls' clothing?
Yeah. So my kids, both of them didn't like wearing any clothes when they were real little. I mean, because it's just different, right? So you work through that, period. I mean, that's just the way human beings are. Here's the other thing, James. There's always been tomboys. Always been tomboys.
Yep.
And so you look at this and you go, this is what the enemy's doing, though. He's playing on the minds of people. I think I told you this recently. There is a school, it's not too far from where I am, probably about 25 miles from here, Christian school, where the parents have requested that the school put a cat litter box in the classroom because their daughter, who I think is like 5 or 6 years old, identifies as a cat. Now, this is sick. Did I tell you that before?
You did say this. I didn't know it was a Christian school.
It's Christian school. Now, the Christian school is embarrassed by it, so that's why I don't want to name them. But the reality of it is these are parents who, I mean, what kind of parent does that? What kind of parent does this to their little girl? I mean, come on. Really?
It's terrible. And then listen to the rest of this. Listen, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but listen to the next portion of this. And this is terrible. This is evidence of the fact that this is abuse.
Like some trans kids, when Ryland came out at age 5, a few years later, he had the full support of his parents.
When Ryland came out at age 5, he had the full support of his parents. What the heck? What the heck does, huh?
Yeah.
Like,
you know what?
What are we doing here?
Yeah, this is bad. This is also, James, when I look at it this way, what's happened is the entire generation right now from birth all the way through to the end of college has been demoralized. So there's no way that this generation of people is going to be able to make a decision that has any righteousness in it. It removes all thought of God from the whole equation.
Yep. Listen, I could not agree with you more. I think that this has gotten to the point where it's so completely out of control. It's not even funny. But see, this is what they're doing, right? When Fox News, they call themselves the voice of conservatism, when they're supposed to be the people who stand up for godly principles, which they don't. But if they're supposed to be those people and they start embracing this and talking about it as though it's legitimate, like, hey, no big deal. Listen, if this kind of story got released 5 years ago, everybody would have demanded that those parents got arrested for child abuse.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of how bad everything is, let's think of the days of Noah for just a minute, right? I'm going to do, I don't know, I'm going to do an update on this. I don't know when, but it'll be soon. Are we allowed to talk about monkeypox without getting...
We have to be very careful because they're getting really crazy about this. So
Okay.
as we know what we're talking about here, but we could talk a little bit about it. We just have to be very careful.
Okay, I'll be careful. I won't read the whole thing. UK Health Agency says, ready for this? Ready?
Yes, sir.
UK Health Agency says 99% of people with this particular virus right now are cases that are in a particular community.
Oh yeah.
That, that celebrates the month of June. How's that? 99% out of, okay. Then there's this. Now I know I can talk about this. UAE, United Arab Emirates, bans Disney Pixar film over same-sex relationship characters.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's think about this. So here we are in America. This is, okay, so Yuri Bezmenov, he did a video, he was in an interview back in 1984 or 85. He was a Soviet defector, and he labeled 4 ways that the Soviets took over anybody when they wanted to bring in their system of Marxism. So he said the first thing you do is you demoralize the people. And, and then once you do that, then people can determine for themselves, the facts won't matter. You can give them all the facts, all the truth in the world, but once they've been demoralized, you've got them. It's all over at that point. So that's where we are, the entire nation of America. You can look at Putin, who says this transgender stuff and the stuff that they talk about in America is insanity. China says this. All over the Arab world, the entire Arab world. James, I had this picture of this. It was a gay community, gay people in Palestine, somewhere in Israel, West Bank, I'm assuming. It says homosexuals for Palestinians. They have no idea that if they weren't promoting them, they'd all be dead.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the foolishness of it.
They don't understand it. This is the same thing that I talk about when it comes to some of these women that are standing up for Islamic principles in Congress. If they were in their countries, they would be killed for trying to stand up, right? I look at these girls wearing their hijabs and acting to be pious and holy and so on and so forth, and all they're doing is propagating a lie. And the worst part about it is they claim to stand for human rights, but I go back and I say the same thing again and again and again. Don't trust somebody to give you a better life who tried to kill you before you were born.
No kidding.
And that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with people that are playing on that level. And it's funny how you mentioned this whole thing of demoralize people. It's the element of mass psychosis that they want to create. It's the idea of, I'm going to create such an overwhelming, insurmountable problem that it's going to cause you to want to be so desperate to solve a problem. It's going to want you to be so desperate to fix a problem that in reality, you'll take whatever you can when the so-called hero comes. And the person who's the so-called hero that actually comes is the one that created the problem in the first place. It's kind of like saying, hey, listen, you got 50 gallons of gas. I'm going to take away every gallon you have. You won't have a single gallon left. And when you're desperate because you can't drive and you need to get from point A to point B, then I come to you and I say, how far away is your house from where you are? And you say, oh, well, it's 10 miles. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a half a gallon. Now, I'm the guy that took the 50 gallons.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you half a gallon. All of a sudden, I'm a hero. That's what you call mass psychosis.
Yeah. It's like the guy who starts the fire, he comes back a little while later with the fire extinguisher. Hey, I'm here to save you guys.
Same kind of a situation.
Totally is. This is why Klaus Schwab is the one who says you'll have nothing and be happy by 2030. Why does he say that? Because he knows they're going to continue to take away everything. Listen, we're watching this happen as food shortages, money's going to change. I don't care what anybody says. Cash is going to be gone. They are resetting in a very evil way, in a Marxist way, in their demonic way. They're resetting the entire global economic system.
That's right.
That's what's happening. When they do that, you will suddenly own nothing. What's going to happen to the person when all of a sudden you own a home, you've been making your payments, let's say you owe $400,000 on your home. And then all of a sudden it gets called. The bank calls the whole thing. Because that's what these globalists are going to do. They're going to say, well, guess what? You have to pay everything, and you got 10 days to pay all $400,000 because you never read the fine print of your mortgage. And we want all that money now.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
That's 100% correct. 100% correct.
Yeah.
And
people, we are going that direction. I know that might sound a little bit scary, but this is how the Klaus Schwabs and these globalists are able to say, you'll own nothing and be happy, because after they take away everything, they're going to say, well, guess what? We have a place for you. We have universal basic income. You get that as long as you take this mark on your hand or forehead.
Yeah, that's what I think is coming.
This is the direction this thing's going.
Yep, I agree with that, and I think that it's been going in that direction for quite some time. And I have been laughing because some of the mainstream conservatives that are out there are now beginning to acknowledge the Great Reset when we've been talking about it for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. I think it's amazing how that's beginning to go. And again, they're looking at it from the perspective of property rights. They're looking at it from the perspective of liberties, freedoms, so on and so forth. We're looking at it from a perspective that's far deeper and far darker than that. And that's where this thing is going.
It's way further.
This final Antichrist is well on his way. And what we're looking at here is absolutely unbelievable. By the way, I want to make a quick comment for those of you guys that are super chatting and doing super stickers. The system is broken, so we're not able to see who's doing it. All I see are names, and that's because our moderators are catching it. I don't know if you noticed while Tom was talking, I had kind of yelled something out to one of my guys. They're just writing down the names, so I just want to acknowledge everybody. Pookie, thank you very much. By the way, Pookie on Rumble actually says Tommy Hughes and James. Kind of a funny, I think that's a pun on me calling you Tommy all the time, which I think is really funny.
People who care about me call me Tommy. When people are mad at me, they call me Thomas.
Hey, you know what? No, I don't think I've ever. I don't know, but I mean, you are the man. Stephanie Breeden, thank you. NB, thank you. Matthew Huff, thank you. Bro, I want to bring up another aspect of this because this is a very, to me, something that's been bothering me a lot. Am I wrong, or is it true in your mind? Because this is what I'm seeing. I have never seen a more aggressive, a more angry, a more filled with vitriol, vicious Pride Month than the one this year. This has been the worst one that I've ever seen. It's been ugly.
And it's everywhere.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
So you are seeing what I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah, totally. In fact, if you don't get with the program, then you're just blasted. At least that's the way it is in America.
Yep. I think that what we are looking at is markedly prophetic. I think this is something that we obviously saw coming, and anybody who didn't see it coming should have seen it coming, and it is getting absolutely insane. It's getting crazy.
It is. So how do you have a full month given over to homosexuality, the celebration of it? Pride, we know pride comes before destruction. We know that was what Satan's problem was. And so we know this is totally demonic. So we know this is going to have a very bad ending. We can see that. Okay, so when you look at it, you go, all right, so you're celebrating an entire month, forcing it upon everybody else. At the same time, what are we seeing happen? Netflix has had problems because of it. Disney is having problems because of it. Fox News is bending over backwards to make sure that everybody loves them. But you know what? It's kind of like the election, which we're still not allowed to talk about. But you go, there's a whole lot of people that say this is wrong. This is not normal, what's taking place in the month of June.
Yep, that's right.
And to think it's normal, man, there's serious problems. But literally, it's Satan who was full of pride, and pride was his destruction. So you're saying, bring it on. We're full of pride. Well, yeah, that's what you're full of, and it is demonic.
Yeah, And I could not agree with you more. And I think that one of our watchers saying this, Jesus is God forever blessed, thank you. They say, shame on any parent that relents to this transgender woke nonsense. To think they are assuaging their kids when they are in fact doing harm. Jesus warns those that hurt children. And I think that that is a very accurate assertion. I think that that's correct. And that's the worst part. We're like trying to get it inside people's heads, right? That what you're doing is markedly evil. I just don't think, I think right now it's getting to the point where these people are so loud and so unrelenting that the overwhelming thought process is, well, let's just give in because it can't be that bad.
So these parents are groomers.
Dude, exactly. You know what, bro? That's what you get for that statement. That's completely correct. They are. They are.
I mean, you look back just a few years and these parents would have been labeled as perverts. Hey, something's got to be done with getting their kids out of the home.
They'd have had their children taken away from them.
Have their children taken away from them. Now they are celebrated as heroes. Same thing with abortion. You're celebrated as a hero if you're about aborting babies and you're labeled as a bigot and an evil person that is against the things of you're trying to destroy the world if you're pro-life. Listen, we're in the world, but we are not of the world. So if you're a believer, we should be encouraged by that, knowing that we see things. Wait a minute. The way we see things is the opposite of the way the world sees things. But the most appalling thing to me, James, is the way that the majority of churches just are going along with this. They are dead fish floating downstream. That's what they are, with dead pastors. You look at the 5 churches of the book of Revelation, or the 5 bad ones. What are they? The dead church, the loveless church, the corrupt church, the lukewarm church, and whatever the other one is. They're just all in name only. They're just going along with the culture. And they think that they're going to lead people to God because they go along with the culture and they support, well, let's put a rainbow flag here in our church. Where's is God in that?
No, not any. And I still go back to those statements that Broderson and Rick Warren and whoever that other guy is from Focus on the Family, the day that man was inaugurated, the day that Flashbang was inaugurated, how they said it's a better day because at least he's more racially sensitive. And you just think, can you be a bigger fool?
Yeah. Well, they're blinded by their own.
How's it working for you now?
Yeah. Listen, this is what Christians forget. And we all need to be reminded of this. Jesus said, narrow is the way that leads to life. Broad is the path that leads to destruction. And he also said, as it was in the days of Noah, so will it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And likewise, it's the days of Lot. So what happened there in the days of Noah? 8 people are saved out of what, 1 billion people on the planet?
Yeah.
And so when you see churches going this way, well, of course they're going this way, because the problem, James, I see it, they never really believe this. When you don't actually believe this, they certainly won't teach the Old Testament. They won't teach Jesus is coming again. They'll boast about, hey, we're not going to talk about sin or judgment here because we don't want anybody to feel bad. Well, whoever says that's a sin? Well, the Bible was written thousands of years ago. It's just an old book. God is dead. They go along with the words of Yuval Noah Harari way more than they're going to go along with the words of Jesus Christ.
That's right.
When people sit there and say, well, we just need the Jesus of the New Testament. Well, have you read about the Jesus of the New Testament?
Yeah.
He talks about judgment coming. And he's the one that's bringing the judgment also.
Yeah.
So you look at this, you go, what a bunch of foolish arguments. Let's cut out the 90% of the Bible that we don't like. Let's just focus on all the happy passages.
With one word, the Jesus of the New Testament is going to destroy everything. I mean, I think it's a total crack up. The Jesus of the New Testament in Matthew, I believe it's chapter 5, said, I didn't come to destroy the law. I came to fulfill it, every jot and tittle. So you look at the assertions that these people make that somehow grace translates to a license to commit homosexual acts and to continue to do evil things. It's just completely crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of the reason why they're way off is because they started off wrong. They started off with this doctrine of post-millennialism.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
because of that, they've aligned themselves with all of the globalists. Well, we just need to get along. We're going to make the world better. After we perfect the world, then we're going to give it over to God. That's what the UN, listen, you're playing savior. What's Jesus' role in it then?
Yeah.
None.
It's a farce. I mean, I hate to say it, bro, but that's the reality of what we're talking about here. We're talking about a farce. It's fake. These people continue to come and to say this is going to be the solution, when in reality, the solution has always been to take God at his word and to believe these things. But the problem is these cowardly pastors think that somehow they are making some way, like there's some liberty that they have to be able to do these types of things and do it in the name of some broken social justice mechanism. Right?
Yeah.
And when that happens, unfortunately, this is the kind of stuff that you end up seeing. You end up seeing this nonsense right here, right? And if you look at this is what they are brainwashing our kids with in school. You see the transgender flag, you see the gay pride flag, you see the Black Lives Matter flag, you see pictures up that say blank the police, blank KKKA, America. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they are trying to brainwash our children with, right? And it's terrible because the reality of that even centers around the fact that when people follow this empty social justice route, they continue to compromise. Like, look at this statement that got made. When the social justice nonsense started erecting in full mode. This is a Calvary Chapel pastor. He says, why do we cry out for justice in the womb, but not justice to the tomb? Like, you're minimizing the greatest, literally the most significant social justice, whatever you want to call it, civil rights issue of our time, and that is the murder of 1,500 black babies every single day. 3% of the childbearing population in this country are black women, yet they account for 50% of the abortions. And if you want to see a real true-to-life KKK type of a scene, take a look at this. Look at the headline on this. The headline on this says, women in poorer areas in Mississippi seek abortions later in pregnancy, study finds. And I want you to notice something. Notice how the monitors, okay, that means the people that are supposed to be escorting the woman who's about to commit an abortion are both white. And they're escorting a black woman to go murder her baby. You might as well show a picture of two white people in pointed hats with a black person carrying a noose.
Yeah. That
It's
picture
the
says
same kind of
1,000
thing.
words.
The picture says 1,000 words. And the clinic escorts, they're not wearing these regular safety vests. These are gay pride transgender vests.
That's what they are.
This is their activism. This
Yeah.
is what we're talking about here.
You
Tell
know,
me.
James, yeah, and this is something else that is a really good reminder for us and for anybody willing to watch this, is that we live in days that are evil, and we have to be able to recognize there may be persecution that's going to come against us just for being willing to speak the truth. But we can't turn from speaking the truth because we're afraid of we're going to get shut down. They're going to go after our bank accounts. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. No, we're all going to give an account before the Lord one day. And I promise you, God is not going to look lightly upon those who are supporting abortion. How I don't get that.
Listen,
and
bro,
the whole,
this is what me and you have in common. Okay, we have a lot of things in common, but one of the things I'm the most proud about that we have in common is that both of us, with our wives, made a decision to fight in this anti-abortion movement by adopting very precious children that have become incredible, valuable blessings to our lives. I mean, I think about that for a second, and I realize when I look at my children, what my life would be like if those children got aborted. I can't even think about it. It's unthinkable. I can't think of what it would be like if your children were aborted. I just can't. And you look at the families that are out there that are waiting, that are going through hell and high water to be able to do what we've done. My wife and I, we want to adopt a few more because we think that this is such a valuable fight that we're in. And these kids are amazing kids. They're worth giving up everything for. But yet, think about this, and this is why I brought it up. You remember what you had to go through. I remember what I've had to go through and what we're currently going through. We actually have to make physical changes to our home in order to be able to adopt a few more kids. We actually have to add to our home in order to be able to do it.
Yeah, there's all these legal things.
Oh, all kinds of things. And we're willing to do it because we so desperately want to adopt more children because we think it's God's call upon our life. Yet, in the state of California, you can get a paycheck to come from another state, stay in a fancy hotel, and abort your baby.
And get a ride. You can get a ride all the way from the other state, all the way to California, have your meals paid for in the whole bit.
And get extra money.
Yeah.
They're paying you to kill your baby.
So this is an evil thing. We're both in California. We're here for the fight, and
oh, yeah.
I look at it and I think, man, is God going to bring the hammer down on California sometime soon? I mean, you look at the appalling things that come out of our state, just terrible, absolutely terrible. We know it's coming, but we are here for the fight. I feel like, James, we're missionaries that are here.
100%.
I feel like the people in our churches, we're all missionaries here in the state of California.
100%.
But we are here to fight. But I just look at the subject, and it's just a terrible thing to think about that these babies are being murdered and slaughtered because these people worship. A lot of them are deceived. A lot of it is the politicians that are behind it, the money that's behind it, and that. So they get a girl that's easily maybe naive or easily influenced, right? They start working on them. They promote it in the schools. So these young girls are deceived, and then they go for it. But you know what this is? This is the worship of money and the worship of sex, because, well, we can have all the sex we want, not have to worry about having a child. I'll tell you one thing, though, James. Think of this. If this goes on long enough, if we're not raptured, and anytime soon, if this goes on 20 years, yeah, we're going to have some serious problems with the moral depravity of people's minds, because they've been demoralized all the way from kindergarten all the way through till the end of college. However, at the same time, they want to abort all their kids. They don't want to have any kids. Guess what? People who love the Lord want to have more kids. And guess what that means? You're going to be the ones who are populating the planet with people who are thinking biblically and thinking right. And I mean, the further we go down this path, the other people there won't be any children left. They're going to die off.
100%, bro. 100%. And the Bible said that this would happen. The Bible predicted that the days would get dark like this, that we would be in perilous times in the last days. And this is not anything that we should be surprised about, right? Tommy, do we have enough time? I want to bring up a couple more things. Do we have enough time to talk about the AI stuff, and then also maybe a little bit about Damascus?
10 more minutes. How's that?
Okay, let's do it. How about we talk about this attack on Damascus? I got to tell you, I did a report on this. I did a story on this on Saturday morning. I actually aired it, I think Saturday at 1 p.m. is when it went out. And when I did this story, I got a ton of comments from a lot of different people telling me, hey, this person reported it first. That person reported it first, almost as though what I was doing was not all that valid. And the reality of it is, I think, and I'll just be careful how I say this because we're going to leave it at that. We're not going to take it any further. There's a lot of sensationalists out there, a lot of them, right, who are really more about getting out there information that people don't have so that people can buy their books, give them money, all of that kind of thing. And they're oftentimes not bringing a good, solid biblical perspective on this, right? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what the biblical perspective is on what happened in Damascus. Obviously, an airport was attacked. Damascus has been attacked by Israel a lot throughout the years. What's significant about this, if anything? Maybe share a few comments on this.
Yeah. Well, I look at, I was following it. I was in Texas at the time. I didn't do any videos on it, but I looked at it and look, this has been going on a long time. Damascus, if you look at it, it's so blown up. I mean, there's so many neighborhoods that have been absolutely destroyed over the years. If you go back, I'm thinking it was 2022, so probably 2012-ish, right in there, about 10 years. And Damascus was being threatened to be destroyed way back then. And I remember seeing pictures of just the different bombings and the different destruction and the civil war, and it's a mess. So it's not anything new. What happens with Damascus, James, I did a video on Damascus, I think it was in 2014 or 2015, posted it somewhere. It was about a 5-minute video, and it just took off. It was probably the most popular video I ever did within 3 days. I have no idea where the video is anymore, but I remember seeing it. And I was talking about Isaiah chapter 17.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite videos you had done on the subject. It was really good.
It was a long time ago. And, but at the time you got to put it in the context of the Bible. This wasn't the destruction of Damascus that the Bible describes. The Bible describes Damascus will be literally annihilated in one night, completely annihilated. In the morning, Damascus is no more. So we have these incursions that happen. They're going to continue to happen until the big one happens. When the big one happens, it's going to be like that. At night, you're going to wake up in the morning, it's going to be gone. So it'll be a ruinous heap, is what the Bible describes, completely uninhabitable. At the same time, if you continue to read Isaiah chapter 17, you get down to the end of the chapter, you find out that Israel also ends up taking some pretty severe casualties in the northern part of Israel after it hits Damascus. So, but we're not at that point yet. I would also say this, when it comes to Ezekiel chapter 38, I know there's a lot of posturing going on. What we do witness in all of this, James, we witness all of the puzzle pieces. We can see, or I would say this way, we see the chess pieces on the board. They're all being moved into place. There's no doubt. So when I look at Israel and Damascus, I say this is just a reminder that this is going to be fulfilled, but it's not. It wasn't last week, and these things are going to still happen. So the best thing we can do is just be biblically minded and stay the course. I hear a lot of different people that will say Ezekiel 38 is going to happen like tomorrow. It's going to happen next week. Here's what happened here. There's still some things that have to take place, I believe, before the Ezekiel 38 battle is going to take place. If we had time, we could talk about those too. But we can see Russia. We can see all the chess pieces. We can see all that. We can see what's going on with the gas in the northern part of Israel. I was with David Tal in Israel just a few weeks ago, and one of the places we were, James, was at Rosh Hanikra. I don't think I told you that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's right on the border of Lebanon, on the Mediterranean.
To the north.
To the north.
Really the northwest, but it's I know exactly what you're
it's as far northwest of Israel as you could possibly get. It's the tip right there. And then so we stayed in Haifa for a few nights, and then we went all through that area and did some great videos. But you look there, and as David was describing the Leviathan, the massive gas find, he pointed out this buoy that was just off the shore. And he said a very interesting thing. He said, there's disputes now over where that buoy should be, because the buoy is the marker of the border of Israel. What belongs to Lebanon, what belongs to Israel. He said, all of a sudden, since Israel found the Leviathan gas, Lebanon wants to move the buoy over just a little bit. If they just angle it a little bit, suddenly Lebanon has the rights to the gas instead of Israel. But that border wasn't in dispute until Israel found all of their gas. It's just absolutely fascinating to watch all of this go on. But we're not there yet. Israel is not dwelling in peace and safety. I believe that the battle is going to come at a time when Israel is thinking, hey, they're going to let their guard down. They're going to be, somehow they're going to, right now, Russia is a huge threat to them, and they know it. I mean, you hear these guys out of Russia, some of the things they're saying. Now they want to annihilate everybody.
I think Damascus is significant because the attack on Damascus in the airport, I think, would not have been done by Israel unless they had some kind of consensus from Russia. They had to have.
Yeah,
remember, Russia has declared the Syrian border that borders Israel as sovereign territory. So it's not like we're talking about a situation here that was not done without the permission of Russia, which makes it all the more significant.
That is huge.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a really big
huge
deal.
Thing.
Yeah, because nothing would have survived the S-300, S-400 batteries that were controlled by Russian officers that go straight up the line from the western border of Syria all the way through, trailing up to the north to Damascus, going northeast in through Damascus. There's no way in the world they wouldn't have survived it, not one bit.
Yeah.
So they had to have gotten permission to do this.
They did. It's only about 6 weeks ago when Russia gave authorization to shoot down one of Israel's, I don't know what it was, one of the things that Israel had. And, Russia's totally involved. There's no way that would have happened unless Russia made the clear path. Yep, go for it.
100%. 100%. And I think that plays a large role in what's going on with Syria. Because, see, people look at Putin and they look at Assad and they say, oh, well, they're best friends. No, they're convenient friends. There's a relationship there that Putin actually allows, but Assad is being conditioned to and is learning to lay himself out in order to be able to continue to stay in power to Russia. So the reality of it is, and I've talked about this, I've talked about the destruction of Damascus being a slow roll process. Now, a lot of people say, well, James, that's a contradiction of Isaiah 17. No, it isn't. Damascus being destroyed overnight is a big difference from Damascus being permanently infiltrated and left to be nothing over a period of time, right? And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think that the destruction of Damascus will be the ultimate form of the transition to inconsequentiality that Syria will be when it makes way for the mechanism utilized as a land bridge for the attack of Ezekiel 38 to actually take place. So what happens is Damascus gets destroyed and then it becomes permanently annihilated at the hand of the fact that Syria simply becomes the playground for battle. So people are not like, I don't think people get the complexities associated with that, which is why all of the sensationalists and the false teacher prophecy guys are saying, oh, well, hey, let's talk about this and capitalize on it. It's crazy. Okay, do you have a second to talk about AI?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 3 minutes.
Give me your thoughts on this. We'll make it quick, and then we'll end on that.
Let me pull up this article because it speaks to it, right? Where is it? It is right here. Google engineer placed on leave after insisting company's AI is sentient. So, from what I understand, this Google engineer, he's in a meeting. He says, "Hey, we have a problem because this AI has emotions," and they got rid of him. Well, after they got rid of him, he became a whistleblower the other day. What's happening, this is the beginning stage of this sentient AI. And it's so this is only going to increase. When we look at technology, we can see it is, they used to say what doubles every, I don't know, however often it was, every 20 years, then it was every 10 years. Now it doubles like every day, it seems. So when we hear the guys like Elon Musk and some of these other globalists that are telling us by 2025 we're going to have transhumanism. We have Yuri Noah Harari that says, "Listen, this is what happened. The world began with people believing in a God. It's going to end with people being gods." And he's talking about artificial intelligence augmenting human beings. James, you were just talking about this the other day, where the problem with this emotion, this sentient AI, is it only is going to go the direction of the programmers.
That's right.
So, and that So basically, if it's programmed to hate you because you believe in the Bible, guess what? There's nothing you can do. There's going to be no emotion that's going to like you or care about you or anything like that. So it's just fascinating. And what it means by emotion is probably not exactly the same as we think of emotion, but it is fascinating to watch this develop. However, I think, James, with this AI technology, it's also a reminder, should be a reminder for all of us that we are very, very close to the end. Because the way the book of Revelation finishes is not with the Terminator.
Oh yeah.
And we are very close to the days of Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator. Very close.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that that's where we're going. And I think that this type of AI is going to actually be used to enhance companies' ability to actually carry out whatever it is that the sentiment of the programmers actually are. And this is what is it? What was that movie that was it was Space Odyssey, right? Is it the HAL?
So how the computer, yeah. So
Yeah,
how the
it's the
computer
same thing.
says, so what you get to the end of the book or the movie and what happens, how the computer takes over humanity in space. It's on a spaceship, if I remember correctly. And and it's just a trip the way it goes, but that's what we're watching. So what was that? That was written probably 50 years ago or something
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness.
We're seeing it coming about. 1984, written by George Orwell back around 1930, projecting into 1984. Well, in 2022, we see the words of George Orwell coming about. We see the 2001 Space Odyssey. We're watching the technology achieve. It's there.
Yep. It is.
Listen, let me ask you this. So this is already developed. It's already here. There's no way to stop this. It's like the genie's out of the bottle. So from what I understand, it can actually increase itself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have quite the same technology that our cell structure has, right? But yes, it does develop itself and it does grow and it does become a bigger cesspool, for lack of a better term. It's capable of doing that. And where I think it's going to become a huge deal is it's going to become remarkably useful in the economy of Revelation chapter 13. I think that this AI is going to be perhaps the greatest tool that the Antichrist will have at his side to be able to execute the enforcement mechanisms necessary to make sure that nobody can buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. I think that's where we're going with this. And you talked about the emotion, sort of the sentient capacity of this type of AI. It goes far beyond that. You know, you go to somebody and you say, hey, I want to plead with you. I'm emotional. You reach out to the purse strings of their heart and they end up opening up and yielding. Well, that's not what's going to happen with this. As a matter of fact, there's evidence to the contrary, where this type of AI with this sentient capacity is actually going to grow more aggressive against those who would seek to go against the purposes established by the programmers. So, Tommy, I think we're over time. I think I've abused your time here a little bit. If you've got more time, great. If not, then we'll put an end to things, bro. But I got to tell you, we have a record-breaking number of people that are watching us right now. We are going to hit 3,000 in just a few minutes.
Praise
Simultaneous watchers. I think that people are interested in these subjects. I think it's very interesting to a lot of folks.
Hey, I do need to cut out here in just a second, but here's a quote from this guy from Google. He said, I think this technology is going to be amazing. I think it's going to benefit everyone. But maybe other people disagree, and maybe us at Google shouldn't be the ones making all the choices. I think it's going to be amazing to those elite who are calling all the shots, or everything you just said about, you got Antichrist, you got the false prophet, we have the image of the beast. Here's something else to think about, everyone, is when you look at Revelation 13 and you have this image of the beast that's able to speak and do these things, appears to have real life. This is another reason why it seems to me we must be very close, because the way technology is, the image that's described in Revelation 13 won't be that amazing, because technology is almost to that point.
I agree.
So we are getting so close. And they call it here the ghost in the machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I think and it's scary to think like this, but I do think we are getting to Tower of Babel territory here.
That's what this is. You know what, James? That is what this really is. And yeah, that's gosh, I wish we had more time. I'd love to talk about the Tower of Babel thing with you because
it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal. Well, I know that we'll be doing more of these sooner than later, which is kind of exciting. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. We did record Countdown to Eternity. That releases tomorrow, and we did talk a little bit about the AI. Actually, we spent a lot of time on the AI subject, so we'll have an opportunity to be able to do that. Folks, just really quickly as we wrap it up, just want to let you know that we are going to do a live Q&A on Locals. Both me and Dale, we're going to do it since Tom has other recordings that he has to do. You can go on Locals right now if you can't afford it. Not if you're a cheapskate. If you cannot afford it, then let us know, and I personally will pay for you to have a membership for as long as you need it. But we want you guys to jump on. It will be for supporting members, the Q&A. For non-supporting members, you'll get to see the first few minutes of it. But like I said, if you can't afford it, not if you're a cheapskate, but if you can't afford it, we will make that available to you. The link to Locals is on top of the chat. You can click there. It was pinned on the top by Dale. It's there. And then, of course, if you are watching on Rumble, it's just a red button that you can click there. So, Tom, anything before we close it up?
No, I got to get going. God bless you, everybody.
All right, let's
be
pray, you
blessed
guys.
In the Lord, and be ready because he's coming soon. And it could get ugly until then.
All right, let's pray real quick and we'll get going. Father in heaven, we just give this time to you. We love you, Father. We thank you. You are so good to us, Lord, and we acknowledge you now. We love you, God, and thank you. We ask these things in Jesus' name, and we pray, God, that you would keep us always looking to you and remembering you. In Jesus' name, amen. And guys, we're releasing a video. This one makes me cringe. You'll see that gets released at 1 o'clock. We love you guys. God bless you. And we'll see you on Locals in 10 minutes. We'll do a live broadcast on Locals, 10 minutes. Ask all the questions you want. God bless you.